number one, I was born to do this work, so I'm going to die with the boots on. That's just how that goes. The second part of this, and I'm glad you brought it up, for my supporters. And I want to be clear because there's a lot of people listening tonight, but my message is only to the supporters. And you're not a supporter if you're not a donor. Those two words are synonymous with each other. Donors support and supporters donate. So that's the only people I'm speaking to. And I say that, Minister Hashim, because when we have these conversations and when I do these different interviews on different platforms, you'll have people call up who don't donate or don't support and want questions answered when they never even contributed to the campaign. So I'm making all the haters aware right now that I'm not even talking to you. I'm talking to folks such as yourself who support the work. Here's the story on the taxes. Number one, when we purchased the building 7 days before the Honorable Frederick Douglass's 201st birthday, February the 7th, 2019, the white attorney who did my closing neglected to tell me that I had 2 weeks to apply and secure tax exemption from Newcastle County, because Wilmington is in Newcastle County, Delaware, okay, and also the city of Wilmington. So there's a city tax that you pay, and there's a county tax that you pay. Delaware doesn't have a state tax. Once I bought the school, I contacted the city and the county. I said, hey, we are not-for-profit entity, okay? I want to apply for tax exemption. They told me that you were supposed to have done this within 14 days from the date of your purchase. How in the hell was I supposed to know I had 2 weeks to get tax exemption? So I reached out to the white attorney who did the closing, and I asked him, why didn't you tell me I had 2 weeks to get the tax exemption? Don't you think that's something I should know as a client paying for your service? He never answered the question. You know what that tells me? He did it on purpose. I believe he was jealous that a young black man walked into his office, you follow me, and wrote a check in that amount of money, and I'm not a drug dealer. Those white folks looked at me like I was crazy when I pulled that check out. They're like, wait a minute, who is this guy? So I think they then went to the internet, found out who I was, and became upset that they even accepted me as a client in the first place. So I believe the attorney deliberately sabotaged me because on a certain level, he felt some type of way that a young black man could produce this type of money for a school, okay, and not a nightclub, because, you know, we love to buy nightclubs. He produced this type of money for a school without no white backing, no loan from the bank, straight cash because of the love of the people. So that's number one. The attorney that did my closing sabotaged us. Now let's do with number two. FDMG was a tax-exempt organization under the IRS. But there's only one problem. The IRS never served notice that we had been approved for tax exemption. So guess what I'm saying? They sabotaged us too. They couldn't refuse the tax exemption. So they simply said, we're not going to let him know that he got the tax exemption. We find out about the tax exemption after chasing down the IRS officer responsible for FDMG's tax exempt application. We was calling them, emailing them, both me and my accountant, professional accountant, working on this with me. And then we come to find out later that the IRS withdrew FDMG's tax exemption before they even told us we had a tax exemption. So that's set up number two. So where are we right now? Right now we are in the process of applying to reinstate the tax exemption. And the reason we're in the process of reinstating the tax exemption, Brother Hashim, is because the taxes on that school, that campus, that 4-building campus, is over $150,000 per year. We owe, and I'm pulling from memory right now, on the Frederick Douglass building for the city of Wilmington, we owe about $50,000. For the Marcus Garvey building for the city of Wilmington, we owe about $20,000. That's just for the city of Wilmington. For the county, it's even more. For both buildings together for the county, we owe about $95,000. Altogether, you're dealing with more than $150,000, $160,000 per year. We can't afford that. We can't afford that. So my accountant right now is working as fast as he can. I just met with him the day before yesterday to try to get that application in and get it approved, because the last time we did this, they gave us the runaround, and when they finally approved it, never even told us we had it. So the proper paperwork was not being filed because we was waiting for an approval letter that we never got. So where are we right now on the $150,000 taxes that we owe? I have an agreement with Newcastle County that I just made last week, and I have to mail them a $25,000 down payment check on back taxes that we shouldn't owe had we not been sabotaged by both the closing attorney and the IRS. So we entered into agreement with Newcastle County, $25,000 down. We're going to have to pay about $10,000 a month to satisfy the bill before the next bill comes around, which I believe is July of 2020. With the city of Wilmington, we did the same thing. We're about to do a tax agreement with Wilmington where we're going to put $10,000 down. And again, we have to pay off the balance of that before the next tax bill comes out in July. So we're basically going to be paying almost $20,000 a month in order to satisfy a bill that we should not even owe. I'm saying that to the donors to let them know that if you've been donating 20, you need to donate 40. If you've been donating 50, you need to donate 100, because the city of Wilmington, Minister Hashim, has been targeted for gentrification. It's been targeted for gentrification. And what do they do to get rid of black folks who own property in places that have already been identified as a ethnic cleansing zone? They raise your taxes. So they're trying to price us out of FDMG, because I was told by several brothers and sisters on the ground in Wilmington that there's certain white folk who are extremely upset that we purchased that building, because they were just about to purchase it and they did not know that Dr. Umar was in the pipeline. So they're angry because I am blocking their ethnic cleansing agenda. And by ethnic cleansing, that's just the real word for gentrification. So there's people who don't want us there, but we're going to remain there because that's where the Most High and the ancestors put us, and we're going to stay there and finish the job. But we're talking big money here. We're talking very big money. Now, here's the other piece. Let me give you this piece. Let me say this and then I'll shut up. Before we can enter into an agreement with the city of Wilmington, I have to first satisfy the utility bill. The reason the utility bill has not been paid is because there is some inconsistency on the different meters that they have going to the school. So, for example, there's 2 school buildings, right? 4 buildings total. We have the Honorable Frederick Douglass School Building. That's the large building, almost 20 classrooms, extremely large modern gymnasium. We have the Honorable Marcus Garvey Building. That's the smaller school right across the street on Ifatunde Avenue, which is what I renamed that street of 17th Street, Ifatunde Avenue. So the Honorable Marcus Garvey Building stares out across the street at the Honorable Frederick Douglass Building. So the Garvey Building has about 12 classrooms, okay, computer room, lab. Both schools are beautiful, brother. Whenever you're ready to come down, I'll give you a personal walkthrough. The school is, when you see it, you're going to say, my goodness, because these are modern schools. This was a charter school, black charter school, that lost its charter, okay, and the school was renovated and built basically from the ground up. They took old buildings and they renovated those buildings into a modern school. So we're only the second business to occupy this property. The problem is that the building was not secured well, and so Mike and Tay and Ray and them got in there and stripped it of all the copper and the piping and things like that. Had that never happened, that school would have been moving ready. We would be having class already, because when they left the school, it was in 100% brand new working order. The school was only about 4 or 5 years old. So we literally have a gift. We have really been blessed if we can hold on to this opportunity. But getting back to my point, the reason the utilities had not been paid is because we have to get clarity on the meters to make sure we're not being overcharged. Because there's 2 schools, right? 4 buildings, but there's 5 different bills. So whenever I get the utilities, I don't get 1 bill. I get a bill for 5 different meters, but there's only 4 buildings. So later this week, I have to go out there and meet the city of Wilmington's engineers so they can trace the meters to the appropriate buildings to make sure I'm not being overcharged. There's also the fire water line in case of a fire emergency. I'm being charged for those lines, which have to be repaired. So I was told by a customer service rep from the city of Wilmington that you might not be responsible for paying the fire water charge because your fire lines have been vandalized and need to be repaired. I was going to pay the bill up front and say, you know what, just pay it. And I was advised by the city, don't pay this. You don't have money to give away. You need that money for your school, brother. Don't pay this. Let the engineers come out. Let's trace the lines. Let's assess the fire line. And then after you do all that, then pay the bill. In other words, if you're not responsible for some of these charges, don't pay for them because it'll take you forever to get your money back. Let's investigate, find out if you're not responsible. If you're not, we can take those charges off the bill, and then you can go ahead and pay it off. So the reason there's been no payment on the city utilities is because they're under investigation. And the reason there's been no tax payment on the city is because when the city does a tax agreement with you for Wilmington, they have to include all bills that you owe. I don't want the utilities included in the payment arrangement with the city of Wilmington because we can afford to pay those utilities off, you see. So that's what we're doing. So when you see these haters doing their little investigations and reports on Dr. Umar, last time I checked, Minister Hashim, they said I spent all the money. There would be no school. I thought that was the line. There would be. So how did you go from there will be no school, then they went to he's lying, he don't own the school, and now they act he got to pay taxes, and because he ain't paying taxes, they going to take the school. First of all, my school is not in default. They don't even start looking at you being into tax default until the next tax year because they give you the whole year to pay off the current taxes. So these Negroes running around talking about something, he's going to lose the school, it's going to be up for share. They a goddamn lie. My school ain't on no list to be sold by nobody. Pure nonsense, jealous, envious Negroes who don't want to see this happen because they didn't have the guts and the vision and the fortitude to build an institution to save our people. Brother, we moving forward, and we will be victorious.
Let me say this. Brother Akbar, I want to turn it over to you in a few seconds, and Sister Yah and our National Minister of Education. But I want to say this. The reason I brought Brother Johnson on, because I really know what he's up against. And when I read his book, I'll never forget reading his book, Psychoacademicholocaust. When I went to the forward, the first thing I read in your forward of your book was about Carter G. Woodson and the miseducation of the Negro. And the miseducation of the Negro is serious because when we're dealing with what you're dealing with now, we built a school here in Atlanta that Brother Akbar and a lot of the brothers on the phone have been to and been watching over the years. And we spent $12 million on one building. We just got a $7 million grant to expand on the second building. And we need, and we're raising, and almost got it raised, almost $18 million on another building. And you ain't even dealing with $1 million yet, and all these questions come up. But then we got to ask ourselves, what in the hell the President of the United States is not getting these questions on his taxes? We got to ask, why was Mike Tyson attacked by the RS? Why was Holyfield attacked by the RS? Why was Richard Pryor attacked by the RS? Why was Red Fox attacked by the RS? Why was Wesley Snipes just jailed by the RS? Why was Lauryn Hill just attacked by the RS? Because every time America can't get you with Homeland Security, the FBI, the CIA, and the criminal justice system, they stick this illegal IRS and this tax crap on us to destroy our movements. If our people can't see this clear, that this brother hadn't even dealt with $1 million yet, and we sitting here talking about what he's done, and we sit here with our crazy black asses calling, getting an extension on our light bill every day, getting an extension on our IRS bill every year, getting an extension on our gas bill every other month, getting an extension on our water bill as soon as the water company calls. And you don't think this brother going to have to do it with a facility that large, with that many acres, with that much responsibility? You out of your mind. I just named the black school that we built in Atlanta, and we done spent over 20-something million, and we still ain't there yet. So I want Brother Akbar and turn the show over to some others, because I'll hog it, Brother Johnson, and you can talk as much as you want, because I can feel your pain, because when we first started raising money over there, when we got to $1 million, we was just getting started. And if anybody would have questioned us after we only had $1 million, we would have told them to get the hell out of our face, man. We were trying to get 12 million. And now we're trying to get, then we got 7 million. Now we're trying to get 18 million. And that's how mediocre these people are sounding when you got a property like that with that many buildings and this much what you up against. Brother Akbar, you know I hog the show. I want to turn it over to you, and I know we got a National Minister of Education and other people where we can get deeper into this and let the doctors explain to these people to goddamn get on board and get a higher understanding of education so we can get a better education.
Yes, sir. Well, we thank you, Brother National Chairman and Brother Hashim Ekanaden and Zinger, and you've done a wonderful job bringing Hannibal Rusher D. I want to welcome to the airways Brother Umar Johnson and just all of the